Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. This is going to be a kind of a relatively brief vinyl update, I hope, because long story short, in shopping looking for something for the wedding in September, we're looking for centerpieces. Trying to find some cheap vinyls that we're gonna end up defacing and destroying, in effect, for the tables, and I get to pick 5. And so basically, I found some of them. One of them I wasn't able to find. That was Pink Floyd. I could not find a cheap Pink Floyd record that I would be willing to part with, so I had to find something else. But I did find a few of them. But we were just at the record store, so I found some other stuff. Yeah, I'll just go through quickly the ones I'm going to be using. I believe Rush, I have a couple copies of Farewell to Kings, one I paid $1 for. That one's going to be used. Let's see here. Genesis, I just found a cheap copy of Seconds Out last night that was like $5. That one I'm going to use. Marillion, I have multiple copies of. I'm debating on Misplaced Childhood and Clutching at Straws, but that I think I'm probably going to end up using a Misplaced Childhood because I have like 4 copies of that, and I didn't pay a fortune. You see them frequently. And let's see here. Yes, I found a copy of Fragile last night for like $5, and it's not in as good a shape as my other copy that I already had, so that one's going to be used. I love Fragile, but I want to use these as centerpieces. And the 5th one is the Pink Floyd one I could not find. For the life of me, I went to 2 or 3 half-price books and 2 cheapos. I didn't go to this one thrift store, but the only Pink Floyd, I saw a $250 copy of a original UK pressing of Saucerful of Secrets, and at the half-price books in Maplewood tonight. But so Pink Floyd, unfortunately, wasn't going to be able to use because I'm not going to part with any of my copies. My 2 copies of Adam Heart Mother for sure, and none of the other ones. But so I'm looking at either Queen or King Crimson, and we're kind of supposed to use artists that at least some people might know, and a lot of people don't know who King Crimson are, so I'm probably going with Queen. I have 2 copies of The Game, which I'll eventually show that in a Queen video, and probably looking at that. Otherwise, King Crimson I have 2 copies of in the court, and one of them is a Japanese import, and one of them is just a standard copy. The condition isn't great, so anyway. But as far as this vinyl update goes, I just found this when I was looking for that, this copy of an XTC single, Dear God, which has Earn, Enough for Us, and Grass, and then includes the bonus track Extrovert. So, yeah, it was not, nothing, $5, but XTC is a band that especially their 80s stuff, I've just kind of looked for, even though I've spent a good amount of time, and the Skylarking record I've known for a few years, but I think I've gotten more. I'm starting to appreciate them more and more in the last couple of years, and so I'm just trying to buy all the vinyl that I can find. So yeah, this is pretty cool. A Geffen 12-inch. The artwork isn't, anything spectacular, but it is a form of artwork, and it's a promo. So, and then so I went out to Discland last night on Friday night, and I found, the Fragile, the copy that I'm mentioning that I'm going to be getting rid of. But just looking through some of the artists I typically look through, I found someone sold their, most if not all, their Dream Theater vinyl collection, which is just, it's pretty rare. Once in a while you see it, but it's pretty rare, especially the new stuff. So I found one of the ones I've been kind of wanting to buy online. 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, their double album, the last just classic, excellent, album from Dream Theater. I talked in the Dream Theater video I did, and then this is in pristine shape. I don't even know if it ever got played, so it's a double, of course. I think most of Dream Theater's records are doubles, other than maybe their first album. And if they ever issue a Change of Seasons on vinyl, that will obviously just be a single. But yeah, this is I'm really happy to finally get this. I can't believe I got this and the other ones I'm about to show, and like Opeth's Ghost Reveries in the last week. And I wasn't really expecting to find anything. It's like maybe the key, here's the insert. The key to not being disappointed when you're shopping for not just music but anything, but in terms of vinyl, just don't expect to find anything, and you might find something. I paid $18 for this. It's a double vinyl. Like I said, this is their last great record, and I mean, there's only like after I get done here showing the other Dream Theater, I'll just briefly talk about it. But so I found that for $18. They also had Train of Thought, the album that followed it. Again, like with Opeth's Ghost Reveries. So this is a double, but it's not a gatefold. But the pressing is just mega thick. You know, of course, Train of Thought has not. I don't quite view it as high as 6 Degrees or Scenes from Memory, or I don't know. It's almost a push with Falling into Infinity, but it still has a lot of really good music, and I'm just very curious, as opposed to 6 Degrees production and sort of mixing and how the layers were produced on top of each other and mixed on top of each other, how this is going to sound. Because the one thing about this record is that held it back to me to an extent was the mix, and just it was very much tons of guitar layers, some samples, the drums, some of the different drum sounds. Even though it's a metal album, I'm wondering how it will sound on vinyl. But yeah, look at that insert. So yeah, I mean, when I saw this, it's like, well, not the number one Dream Theater album, because this is the first one I saw on the shelf that I'm looking for, but I can't expecting to find it. I can't expect to find it used that often, and this was $18 as well. And then they had Octavarium, which this one I was a little more on the fence on, especially how I'm spending a bunch of money. Of course, it's a gatefold. But, you know, it has the title track, which is excellent, which is one of their best songs, you know. And it's definitely an album that I like. I think I give it about 3 stars, which is borderline for vinyl, because I basically don't buy much music unless it's something like for just collectors, completist sake. But with Dream Theater, I don't really make much of an exception. You can see the cases, the sleeves they came with were really nice as well. But, you know, again, it has the title track. It has these walls. There's the insert sheet. And, you know, I was just thinking about this driving home today. It has none of the songs I really hate, other than I think when I did my Dream Theater videos, I didn't mention Sacrifice Sons. Sacrifice Sons is not... It's a song I liked initially, but it's a little preachy, and I just kind of wore out because they played it live on a number of tours, and it was on the Score, I think, the live album, and maybe in one of the other live albums. It was like a staple live, and it was like this 13-minute song, and one of their epics, one of their weaker epics. Although, how many epics do they have? 30, 40, 50, 60, something like that? But, yeah, it's a thick pressing. But the rest of this record, you know... after these walls, I mean, Root of All Evil, you know, Never Enough is a little, the lyrics kind of still bug me a little bit, but the two U2 influenced songs I always think of, The Answer Lies Within and I Walk Beside You, and then Panic Attack. I mean, it's a decent enough record that I thought, especially saving a lot of money and the fact I see it for like $35, $40, $45 frequently new, I would pick it up. They actually had a copy of Systematic Chaos and Dramatic Turn of Events too, which Dramatic I may eventually pick up, but at this point I'm not. So the only other record on vinyl that I'll show, although I'm going to talk about this, I think, in the near future, maybe on Tuesday if I have time, is the new Dream the Electric Sleep album, the Beneath the Dark White Sky, I believe it is. Yes. And I mean to do a review. It comes with a CD, which is kind of cool. Dream the Electric Sleep are a progressive rock band, you know, college prog band from, I think, Lexington, Kentucky, and their previous record, Heretics, from 2014, I really liked. This is a very cool-looking gatefold. You can see the newspaper. And I'm not doing a review at this moment, but I'll just give a couple comments about this album. I like it a fair amount. I'm not sure I like it quite as much as Heretics. The vocalist... the same vocal as Matt Page. He sounds a little different. But as far as the vinyl goes, I mean, it's one of my favorite records this year, but I can't say I'm, you know, I don't know if it's going to be an album of the year, but it could end up in the top 10, certainly. But again, I'm going to talk hopefully more about it in a separate review soon, if I get around to that. But yeah, this is a cool looking stain. It's like gray with the red label there, so the oranges. Kind of stained, black, grayish, kind of reflects the same thing as the cover art. They seem to write a lot about music and lyrics about sort of history. They like to kind of do almost fictional history or based on history. They like to kind of tell tales that maybe are untold, or sort of thinking about reading about articles from the past, maybe 100 years ago, 50 years ago. That's heretics. They talked about Harriet Tubman and I want to say Susan B. Anthony and some other. They don't reference them specifically, but they wrote about them. They were kind of In this album, it looks like they're kind of talking about that, like flight, things from like maybe the early part of the 20th century. So cool gatefold from Dream the Electric Sleep. So that's about it for this vinyl update. But I have some other videos coming up soon, hopefully tonight actually. But thanks for watching. Please comment, subscribe. Please post any new vinyl you've picked up recently, or any new albums, or albums you're looking for on vinyl. And even if you've gotten married, which most of these people that'll find this probably haven't, but if you've ever thought about doing a display at a wedding, what would you do? So, well, we'll see you next time. Thanks.